Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Terrestrial Material, where we talk about the material us terrestrials are interested in. This is actually going to be episode 20. This is our first pre-recorded episode, and we wanted to talk about the alien, angel, and demon connection. It's obviously been a really big topic in ufology lately of the phenomenon might be angels and demons. And even people like Tucker Carlson are talking about it. So we wanted to do a little bit more of an in-depth dive on our own thoughts, what we think that could mean, how we actually feel about that possibly being the situation. So we don't want to wait too much longer. We'll get right over to our great co-host, Steve French. French, how's it going, brother?
Pretty good. Happy New Year. Welcome back.
I know, here we are, finally, in the brand new year. Do you feel any different or what?
No, I never do, man. And here's proof of that too. I mean, I was in bed by like 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve, so it's just another day.
Yeah. No, I get it. New year, same me, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
No resolutions this year you're working on? Nothing?
Nah, that's for chumps. I'm honest with myself.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's hard to make those and stick with them. Usually I feel like when you're younger, you try to start doing those and then you realize pretty early on that a lot of it's kind of a waste. There are some people that do, I think, make changes though, long term with it. So I don't know. I don't want to down people too much for it, but
no.
Yeah, well, welcome all you terrestrials out there. This is, like I mentioned before, this is the first episode here of 2024. So we want to start it off with something as lighthearted as demons and aliens and angels. So, I mean, obviously French luck. Like, this has been the number one thing lately. Everyone's been attributing to this phenomenon at this point. What do you think about just over the top? If somebody throws that right at you, aliens, angels, demons, what's the first thing that comes to your head?
My honest opinion is, without going too far into detail and on a tangent, is like personal experiences. Like when I was in that bad car crash, and like after that, because I had like a weird experience where it like felt like somebody like cupped me underneath like my armpits and like lifted me up like in the seat of like the vehicle, and that's like when I woke up and came to. And yeah, at that point I wholeheartedly like 100% believe in like angels and demons, more so angels, because I feel like that's what that was at that point in time. But yeah, I think that veil was kind of like lifted for, however many seconds of that like period of like my life right there. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
dude, I don't really remember you telling me that. Maybe like a little bit I do, but yeah, dude, that's crazy. So you do believe angels, demons, or is it just angels? Some people only believe in one side.
I believe in malevolent forces, demons and stuff like that. 100%. I mean, in my opinion, you can't believe in angels without believing in demons. There's the universal law, right, of like good and evil. I mean, as far as we know, whether you believe it or not. But that's just my honest opinion. That's how I view everything, is there is good, there is evil. And once I had my own experience with what I thought was like an angel or a guardian angel, and I was like, okay, well, then I can wholeheartedly believe that there are demons and the universe and everything.
That's such a crazy experience. I've never had an experience like that where I felt like I was pulled from something, or, I mean, I've had like moments in time where I've had like thoughts in my head to not do things right, and then you don't do them, and then you find out later on, oh yeah, I'm happy I didn't go over there because this and that happened.
Yeah.
So I guess there's things like that, but to actually feel like a physical thing, that's pretty special, dude. Without a doubt.
I'll never forget it, because I was like, I don't know, as like cliche and cheesy as it sounds, like all there was just blackness. Like there was nothing. And then like my consciousness like came back, and I remember taking a deep breath, and because it like felt like somebody like lifted me up, and that was like my breath. And then and then from there it was get out of the car and yada yada. I'm not going into it, but yeah. I 100% believe in angels and demons, and for sure aliens too.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
I haven't had like any experiences with like the phenomenon or anything like that, but experiences with like ghosts and stuff like that, and angels. And
we'll get into ghosts too. Yeah. We'll get into ghosts a little bit later for sure.
So,
but I mean, I guess this is a really good way to transition to this first question. I mean, what would change for you if it came out just undeniable evidence that angels and demons, like this is what aliens are. This is what we've been calling this topic. Would it change your day to day? Would it change how you felt about your after that car crash and getting pulled out? And how would that all shift for you?
I don't it would for sure change my day to day. It would 100% like make me think more about the choices that I'm about to make in a daily increment, rather than like some people would be like they look at the choices they made in the last like year or the last month. If that came out and I found out that that was all true, it would change the way that I think about what I'm going to do more. And it would also be in a smaller time increment. I would think about my choices more recently rather than way in the past. I think it would be on a tighter time schedule. So I think about my
Yeah.
choices about the day before or like hours before or something like that, which could be good. It could also be bad. It could drive people crazy, honestly, because that's all you're doing is thinking about what if I do this and what if I say this, or it could drive people crazy.
Would you still think that you had free will, or do you think that these entities are actually more controlling that part of kind of the theology or religious side of it is not as true? That I mean, the influence is just much stronger than what we think.
That's a cool question. I think it depends on like the evidence that's been brought forth, like proving that angels and demons and aliens are these like entities and stuff. I think it kind of rewrites everything about religion in that aspect. And so as far as like free will goes, that free will was, granted to us from God, right? Or whatever your highest being is. So I don't know. I think it would make a lot of people think about what the highest being is. I think people might not even go to be like, "Oh, there is a God anymore." It's just a world of angels and demons, and that's what aliens have been this whole time. And I would say free will is probably still there. I mean, right? Because, well, in my opinion, like if I found out angels and demons were real and everything, then I would think about my choices more, right?
Well, you would think about like purpose, right?
That
Like
too.
that would be more of a thing more than ever. I think you would step back and say, what is my purpose? There's so many bad things that happen to us, like a car wreck, for instance, and you wonder, where is this leading me?
Right.
What is the point in doing this? Why am I going through this pain and days or weeks in the hospital? I'm smashed up. Is there a butterfly effect that kind of leads us down that road? I mean, if you were to find out that, aliens were really kind of controlling that and that was the case, I think it would freak a lot of people out, man. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, for me, yeah, it would change things for me down the road. I would think probably more about sin. I would think more about my choices
Think
like
that'd be a
that.
lot of people's
Yeah.
response.
Yeah, I think you would consider the afterlife and it allows a lot more serious and a lot more real of a thing and how you're living your life. It would definitely change it. Um, yeah, I just think that I think people would pick up a Bible. More people would, not everybody. I mean, there's people out there that don't have any faith at all. And I mean, even if you told them they were aliens or angels and demons, they would say, it has nothing to do
Whatever.
with me. Yeah,
Right,
whatever. I
yeah.
don't even believe in that to begin with, let alone believe in aliens or any of the stuff at that point.
Yeah, I can see that, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, because like the influence thing is what's really interesting, right? Like when you look back on the way angels and demons have been, kind of portrayed in our lives and throughout society, it's like the two things on your shoulder, right? You
Yep.
get the angel on the one, the devil on the other,
Yeah,
that
that's
old
why I
kind of
did
cartoon
that
thing.
when you talked earlier, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, which do you choose? Or, one's whisper in your ear, one's the better. The cartoons usually always pick the bad one, right?
Yeah, yeah, for the most part. Well, that's because I think that's given in life in general. I think it's easier to sin for a lot of people than it is to do good, right? Just
Right.
naturally as humans, as weird as it sounds, whether you believe it or not, but I mean, if you think about it, it's 100% easier to sin than it is to do good.
Most of the time. I think there are some sins that are harder to do than doing the right thing though, right?
If if you're a
It
normal
depends.
person, right? If you have a brain, you're not just going out like
Yeah, right.
murdering
Like,
people just for fun. Like,
right.
yeah, like you have to have that kind of like inner like voice. It's like, no, this is right, this is wrong. Whether angels and demons are true, I think you kind of have to have that in the back. But
Yeah, like it's easier to give food to a charity than it is to shoot somebody in the head on the side of the road, right? I mean, that's now depending on who you
I
are.
like to think so to
Probably.
that extreme, yeah. You know?
Yeah, so it just kind of depends. I mean, what do we think like they all have in common? So like when you look at aliens, angels, and demons through all of ufology we've heard, and I don't know how like what necessarily religion you grew up as. I mean, I grew up Catholic for the most part. I mean, my mom was more like Seventh-day Adventist for a long time, and
Yeah.
that's a wild one, buddy. It's like
Yeah.
you can't eat meat and stuff like that. It's wild. My dad was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're probably going to look more into our Catholic roots, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what do you think they all have in common? Do you feel?
Like if it was like real and it came out that that's what it was, um,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
just
would
like
s I
maybe
would
not even that.
well, I would
Maybe
say
not even
they're all
that.
linked in the sense of like they are proven to be like entities, and they're proven to be something that, look at like when you religion, the Bible and everything, right? People really reach out and become religious because they have nothing else that they can put their faith in, right? So they don't want to feel alone. They feel like they're at the end of the road. So they turn to religion, they turn to faith and stuff, and that makes them feel less alone. So, and
Right.
I think that's all kind of the same, regardless, honestly, if it's real or not. It's the same sense of like, I want to believe in this because it makes me feel not alone. Or I've had this experience and that's why I believe in this. Or, like aliens and stuff and UFOs and stuff. I've had this experience where I've seen this. So I'm gonna believe in that and I don't feel alone, especially you have all these people, these masses and stuff, right? For religion or ufology and stuff like that. I think that's the common link right there is they're all considered essentially like entities or
Right.
something that we haven't truthfully and proven to be able to see, touch, talk to, yada yada. And it's just something that we believe in based off of experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think one thing that the kind of the alien or phenomena, however you want to describe it, a thing in common more between aliens and demons is like this abduction or this possession, this taking of you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That I don't know any stories with angels that really have anything to do like that. They don't really take anybody. So
Mm-mm.
that's a big separation at that point. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. For sure, like the demons and aliens thing. Um, but here's the thing though, I'm not super religious. There could be,
Right.
something that's written and recorded, that is an event of like an angel, possessing a body or something. Because I don't, because there's like Michael, there's Gabriel.
Right.
Those are the two that I know. I'm not religious at all,
Well, they're the
obviously. I
big
just have
dogs,
my
right?
yeah,
For the angels.
I just
Yeah.
have my
Yeah.
own,
Yeah, for
beliefs. And
sure.
there's obviously the bigger ones. There's like Lucifer, God, stuff like
Right.
that. Which technically they're all angels. Lucifer was cast down to hell because he rebelled against his father, God.
It's true.
So, and at that point, I
Yeah.
think then he was considered, a demon, the devil, but he never was. They're all actually angels.
You're right. Well, that's something I kind of think of from time to time, and I was thinking about when we were talking about doing this episode is like, what if Satan himself was exiled in like a spaceship at that point? He was kind of told to leave, and he actually came down to Earth. Right? You
And
see him flying
yep.
down. He's coming down, and he goes into the ocean. And he goes down all the way down. And he kind of creates a kingdom and down there because when you look at the way that hell is described in a lot of different religions, it's described as a very dark
If you
place.
drain the ocean and look at the train and everything, yeah, it's
That's
the
interesting
landscapes
too.
too, the trenches and stuff, and
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's harder for fire underwater. So then maybe you could like argue
yeah,
that you go to the core of the earth or whatever have you at that point. But like, it's just an interesting tie-in because you hear all of this stuff about under the water too. So when you put like angels, demons as aliens and you put that together with under the water situations, down low, dark place, heaven is kind of described as just this like astral plane above this canopy above the entire earth that stretches
yeah.
out across, and it's like, is that where the good aliens are and the bad ones are in the water? Or extraterrestrials from other planets, are those the ones that we can trust versus the underwater ones that have been here for like a really long time, dude, and they're just underneath just cooking, they got everything bad going on. I know it's quite a picture to present, but what do you think about something like that?
It's weird though, because when you say that, it just made me think of like, even if they're like below, right? Below is
Right.
not always a bad thing. And if they are in the water, in most cases, like water is considered something that's purifying. It's something that we need that's good for you. So that doesn't
Okay.
necessarily mean that they're bad. They're the bad ones that are down below and they're not in the astral planes and stuff up above. It could just be that they're the good ones down below and the bad ones up there are just still hanging out and don't have free will. And those are the ones that do have free will and they're hanging out with us. They're having the time of their life.
Well, I'd say it's pretty dark in space too.
Well, yeah, for sure, but
so you could flip it around, yeah.
but if you're talking about planes, I mean, they could be on a different plane or dimension that's not dark. So
Right.
that's
Yeah,
just what we see.
That's true. That's true. Depending on where they are. I mean, if they're actually, in a galaxy somewhere, or there's a part of the universe that's like higher up. I mean, how it's hard to even say, like, are we looking up really? Are we looking down? We don't really know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, flat Earth and everything, so it's pretty easy.
So we already know. Yeah, flat Earth explains it all. It explains it all. Yeah. I mean, why do you think like they would need a craft though? I mean, even I guess push devil's advocate. Wow, there's so many puns here. It's unbelievable. Devil's advocate against even my own philosophy or theory about that. Why do you think Lucifer would even need a craft?
Maybe he was stripped of all of his abilities.
Yeah,
Maybe whatever he had left that he was capable of doing, he built one and was like, I'm getting out of here one way or the other.
They took like his astral projection technology and gave him the loner junkie,
It could be.
kicked him out.
The $5 a month subscription as opposed to his $100 a month subscription membership.
Yeah, half the tires are flat, Lucifer, but get out of here. I don't care,
Yeah, I
guess
don't know. That's a good question. Like, it's hard to even like think of something without like going like way off,
Right.
Like it's
right.
it's weird, but that's the only thing that I could think of. Like
Well,
if somehow like if aliens are like angels and demons and everything and they're above and below and the ones that are above go below and it could be for bad reason. If it is for bad reason, then yeah, maybe they have the capability to strip, whatever abilities that they have
yeah.
and whatever they were left with. I mean, well, I guess technology, right? They could have still used technology up there. I mean,
They could.
I'm thinking
They
deeper now.
could.
Like you're really messing with me.
I know. I got to mess with your brain a little bit. We got
Yeah,
to dig it
because I
out.
mean, that's you never know, right? It could just be a
No.
whole, city, a whole world universe of nothing but advanced technology. Doesn't have to be just like entities and stuff like that.
Right.
They could actually
And
just be physical and
true.
have the ability to be interdimensional, like we always talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's another reason why I think when you look at like spacecraft and the crash retrievals and things that I think have went on with all of it, that's why I think that there's more to this. Like even if there are aliens that are angels and demons, I still think that there's other phenomena too. I still think there's other, possibly actually extraterrestrials that could get here if they were a million or even a billion years advanced. They were actually able to live through disasters and get all their way here. So I do think that there's multiple versions of the phenomena. I still don't think it's one thing or another.
Oh,
And
agreed,
so
yeah.
so maybe we're just finding the crafts of the guys who actually need to get it here, and the other civilizations have just found a different way. I don't know, French, for me, man, and I don't know how you feel on this, but the last like couple of weeks when I've been thinking more and more about just technology, man, and like where things can go when you look at like progression through humanity or any other kind of species that's out there that's like us. Rogan had his interview with Bob Lazar 3 or 4 years ago, and at the end of that episode, he talked about how when you look at all of the creatures that are on this planet, we're the only ones that really just continue to try to progress. Better beehive, blah 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 blah. Nothing else does that. But maybe other civilizations have. And maybe, a million years from now, they have these crafts, but a billion years down the road, they're able to just project themselves and what we think are spiritual angels and demons are actually just like good and bad entities that are just taking advantage of technology at this point. That all that's just technology, has nothing to do with like a woo or like magic or any other way that
Yeah.
we'd want to describe it. And what do you think about that?
I don't know. I wouldn't say like we're the only species that tries to progress, right? Like monkeys and stuff like that, they still try to progress.
Yeah, I guess Rogan was showing the that orangutan, right, with the spear fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually
Yeah,
forgot about that video. Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like primates and stuff, like
Yeah,
they still try to naturally progress. I mean, and there's
I guess.
that
Yeah,
theory that that's what we evolved from, right?
right.
So,
Well, yeah, that's the idea.
I mean,
That's the winning idea if you're not religious, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So technically, like I don't know if that's where we evolved from, like what we derived from. Like, yeah, I guess we wouldn't be different species, and you can't like make that statement like I just did. But in my eyes, yeah, like apes and stuff like that, they are a different species compared to us. So, but they do seem like they are naturally just progressing on their own. And if you watch any video like with monkeys and stuff like that, like even in if they're in captivity, they have no other outside influence other than like their four walls and stuff like that. Like they still show this advanced like thinking and cognitive ability to like people like us that come up to glass and stuff like that, and then they'll mess with each other, with humans and the apes and stuff like that, and still they only have a limited amount of resources, but they're just naturally getting better and smarter and like and understanding and stuff like that. Like it's crazy to me watching those videos. I'm like, dude, they have no resources given to them other than whatever food that they have, and they're in these four walls in captivity and stuff, and they're still super smart, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we just haven't been around long enough to see that development yet, right? And really understand that maybe one day, 100,000 years later, they do make a phone, and maybe
They
they do
might. I
progress in
don't.
some way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not that smart to be able to go into all that, but I mean, you sounded pretty good there, but yeah, I don't know. I guess that does make a little bit of sense that down the road things could change. But it's like our souls, that kind of makes us a little different when you look at a lot of religions. The our consciousness maybe tied with our souls. I think there's got to be some kind of connection to that. And would that be? What do you think that is? Let's say these aliens are angels and demons. You think they're after our souls? What power do you think our souls provide? God, that's interesting.
I don't know. Like, what's the cost of my soul right now? Like, I'd like to think it isn't worth shit for them to like even want to harvest it, right? Like, it's a
Well, maybe it costs for maybe its value is dependent on kind of your choices. So like in certain video games, you do the
fable.
evil playthrough like Fable,
Yeah.
Moody Mongo, we're calling you out, Fable one. You make good choices and God or whatever entity, those aliens that want your soul, and that's why it goes there. Or Satan can do more with your soul when it's blackened and evil and bad. I
Guess
mean,
that's true. I
what do
guess
you
that's the basis of religion, right? The whole sin and don't
yeah,
sin thing and repent, because it's the only way you're gonna get, accepted up into heaven and stuff.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, another thing Lazar was talking about was that our souls were containers, even. And I wonder about that. I mean, do
What
our
would they
souls
contain?
know that we are containers and
Oh yeah, we're
whatever
just
what we
vessels.
contain?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of speculation that means like our soul, like it's containing our soul, and when we die, do they come get it? Depending on the value that they put on it. I know it, dude. It's a wild thought process. There's a lot of people that get really uncomfortable. I
Well,
know
that's like
Ali
the
talks about
Grim
this all the
Reaper
time.
thing though, right? The Grim Reaper is the harvester of
Oh,
souls. So is the Grim
wow.
Reaper like the ultimate like cheese? Like is he the big one, right? He's an alien.
Yeah.
He's the ruler of everything right there essentially. Because if souls are
Yeah.
actually valued like that, whether good or bad, right? He's still coming to take them. Or does the Grim
Yeah.
Reaper only take bad souls? Because as far as I know, the
Interesting.
Grim Reaper he collects souls in general.
Yeah, that's what I know. I never
So
heard anything separate than that.
so maybe he's just like the big time cheese, and he's just collecting them all and selling them to the highest bidder, good or bad, you know? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird, and I think a lot of people like it seems like they roll with like our bodies are vessels and they contain like our souls and consciousness and everything. And to an extent, I do believe that. But I think like people have certain experiences that really make them, you know, dig into that belief and stuff. Like me, I haven't had like any out of body experiences or anything, even when I was, who knows, dead or not. But all I know is there's just blackness and I came back too. Um, but I've never had anything crazy like that. I would imagine if I did, then I would for sure be like, oh yeah, my body's a straight up vessel and it's just containing my soul. And when it's time to pass and it goes off somewhere, somebody takes it and
The
sends it
highest bidder.
somewhere. Yeah, maybe somebody takes it and, sells it and sends it somewhere where it just goes where it's naturally supposed to go, back to its, natural home where it came from.
Right. Yeah, the soul auction.
Yeah,
Yep.
the awe,
It's
yeah.
from
The awe house.
the hopefully our souls are valuable whenever we do go. Yeah, that definitely is interesting. I mean, God, Grim Reaper, that kind of leads a little bit into ghosts. I mean, I always hear there's kind of a similarity to that, I think. I mean, where do you think ghosts fit into that? I mean, we have a lot of people over the years that think that the disembodied voices and that the apparitions that they're seeing on camera and things like that, that these are actually demons. I mean, I'll give you my opinion straight up front. I think that ghosts, all of that stuff, if that stuff's real at all, it's demonic, man. I think that that's something that's in demon in the sense of something that's definitely traipsing around as something else to fool you, to trick you for
Mhm.
some kind of reason. I don't think it's our grandpa and grandpa or grandpa and grandma from the past or our cousin, Lenny or something.
Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, and people say, well, they do when they do these readings or they play the EVPs, they say things that only that Uncle Lenny would know or that Grammy and Grandpa would know. But it's like these demons would know that information. They're tricksters. I mean, that's so many religions talk about how these are all
Mhm.
tricksters, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. What do you think about that? Ghosts, where does that fit in?
I think like the relation between like ghosts and souls is like 100% there in my opinion. I think ghosts are souls that are unable to be collected. I think they're
Cool.
this is just something I always talk about, this wild stuff with like um you know my friends. I only have a few, but for a reason, because we have cool ass conversations.
Hey, you know how it is.
Yeah. I think ghosts are just souls that haven't been collected or cannot be collected for whatever weird reason, and I think they're just kind of stuck in this realm, and that's that. I think they become demonic because they can't be collected and they're just stuck. It's like purgatory, right? Just like hell, but on a different
Okay.
plane. It's essentially purgatory, right? Your soul can't be
Right.
harvested. You can't be sent up or down. You're just stuck in a separate realm of like purgatory. Whether you,
Okay.
if you believe in something like that too, like you get sent down to hell and you're in purgatory, the seventh circle, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
do
I
you think
think.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, do you think it's only the bad souls that can't be collected, or do you think it's only the good
I
soul? How does that work? You think?
I don't know. I can't really tell you. That's just what I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they're always bad. I just, because it's not fair, right? There could be something weird that happens that, you know, forfeits your validity to be collected and sent somewhere else, right? So you're just kind of
Right.
stuck. And that's why I said like I think it could all be good. They could all be good souls that something happens and they get screwed over and they're stuck in this realm, this plane, and they become malevolent spirits and stuff like that because they're angry that they got, screwed over or something and they're stuck in purgatory. Like if I
Well,
was
what
gonna be
about the?
stuck in purgatory, like at least send me down to hell where at least I'm like on an actual plane where I belong and
Oh, no. You don't want to go to hell, bro. No
because
matter
it's like
what, you don't want to go to hell. That sounds horrible. I mean, what about God, I'm gonna lose my train of thought on it too.
sorry.
No, you're all right. Yeah, no, I mean that's a crazy thing to think about. Oh, okay, I know where I was going with it. So, what about these souls that are lost? Okay. And let's say that, we're still on the same page, guys. We're talking about aliens, demons, and angels all being linked together. let's say these souls are lost by these aliens, which are angels or demons, because people died in ways they weren't supposed to. A glitch happened. They stepped out in front of a car when they weren't supposed to. You know, any kind of bug in the coding, if you want to put it that way. What about that? Maybe that's why they're lost.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say so. I think that'd be like pretty good, like reasoning behind like why they couldn't be collected, right? Because like you said, I like the way you use like a glitch or like an error, right? Because that also goes
Right.
back to like whether we actually do or do not have free will, and aliens are controlling everything,
I know.
and somebody like made you do the wrong thing. And it was like, oh, hey, sorry, like your player here can't be, sent to the level 33 or whatever because you did the wrong thing. And
It's like
uh,
all that sounds like simulation too. You know, this is why my brain this year has just been blown, dude, by like AI and this whole idea of simulation. You know, when you start talking about all of this together, it links up more than you think. It's like if you just said to somebody offhand, angels, demons, AI simulation, they would think all that is so separate. But when you really start digging into the
yeah,
possibilities and putting it together, you're like, wow, this does make more sense. These could be more linked. Because if spirituality is technology, then our consciousness and souls are just like
whoa,
software somehow that's there. Dude, that's all linked once again to possible simulation. And the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. This has been such a crazy, or last year. Last year's was such a crazy year for me, man. Of just going from thinking that, you know, it was 99% of this was extraterrestrial, and then just digging into more like we have this year and thinking that, man, there's just so much more here. It just blows my mind to where I feel like this talk of angels, demons, and aliens all being linked now, I could have thrown all of that out a long time ago, but it's just not anymore, man. Not anymore. There's too many links, and it's becoming too much of a hot topic. And you have people like we've talked about before, Tucker Carlson, really going in on it. I think it's something we have to take a look at, and that's why we're doing this episode, man. You know, we wanted to
yeah.
talk a little bit more and get down to the depths of it at that point.
Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna say, like, I think if we didn't do this podcast, because what you said I agree with, but like to put it like in my own, excuse me, like words, like I've linked so many things together more in this past year, especially just from like doing this podcast with you than I have in my entire life, up to like this last year, which comparing it to like my entire life, it may sound like, oh my God, it's this crazy thing. No, it's not. It's just very interesting because, you know, it changes the way your brain thinks. And we talk about it all the time on this podcast about like, this is why we do stuff like this. It's best to like see everything from every angle and like open your mind and be willing to do so as much as possible. And yeah, but like you said, the AI, the simulation thing, religion, angels, demons, aliens, stuff like that. Yeah, there's more links that I've put together than I ever would have thought I would have, you know, which is very
Yeah, I mean,
cool.
what? Let's say it came out that was the case, that aliens are angels and demons. Do you think now you would take that better than you would have a year or 2 years ago
If I
because
didn't
of your
make the
exposure? Yeah,
links, yeah,
yeah,
100%. Yeah. I think I
yeah.
would feel more like lost about the topic, right? If I didn't feel like I had like made a connection, whether it was, you know, true or not, yeah, I feel like I would have been like, whoa, holy, like, would have felt really weird about it. But I think now, if it came out and aliens were angels and demons and stuff like that, yeah, it'd just be like another day. I'd be like, oh man, I thought about that. It's true, huh? It's like, all right, cool. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how society would take it, man. I think that's a real scary one for people. Even though, like, people, you could make the argument of, look at how religious the world is. People already think angels and demons are
That's
kind
what I
of
was gonna
real.
say. Yeah.
But I say this, man, and I've had this because of certain life experiences I've had. You always feel one way about something until it's right in your face, bro.
Yeah.
And when it's right in your face, it's different. If you're let's say these religions were right, let's just go with Catholicism because that's all I can really speak on, not because I think that's the one true religion. Do not go after me, okay? I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. right? Even though if you believe that that stuff is real, unless it's in your face, you could sin and be like, kind of let it go. Like, it doesn't hit you as hard. But if you were sinning and you knew it's bad, bro, you could really go to hell, man. These demons could really get you. I think that it would be different.
It's in comparison, it's like if you're getting ready to get in a fight with somebody, right? Everybody wants to be
Right.
Barney badass, and it's like, oh, I'd
Yes.
beat the hell out of that guy, and then that dude
Right.
walks up to you and grabs you by your shirt collar, and you're like, flight, 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 not fight, not fight. It's like, yeah, okay, you know,
I do, man. I do think that. I think about
yeah,
a lot of this topic, a lot of like disclosure. I think a lot of people are just not really being completely honest with themselves on if it was in front of your face, dude, it's different. It's different. If you had some gray being you've never even seen before, even if it kind of looked like a gray like we have, and it was looking at you, couldn't speak your language and was doing stuff at you, and
I shit my pants.
You'd shit your pants, dude.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, if you're looking outside and like 3 or 4 of these dudes just walk out of the fucking forest, man, I mean, come on, dude, you're gonna, God, here I am with the F-bomb. I'm gonna try to keep my head down.
End times or not.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that it's very different, and I think that if it came out, whether that's through the government or they made their own kind of appearance, I don't think people would get out of the bed the next day as many and just kind of go to work right away.
That's why I always say I think it'd be like mass, like just hysteria, because I think reality would set in. A lot of people that say like, "Oh, it'd be cool, man. I'd go beat the hell out of that guy." Well, that dude's walking up right now, and everybody's just gonna be
Right.
like, "Oh," they're gonna freeze. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with you.
I think people at the very least would pick up the phone and go, "Hey, you hearing about this? Are we coming in tomorrow?" I think you'd be checking that you were going to work before you just got in your car and acted like you didn't care that Lucifer's walking the streets somewhere. Yeah, I don't buy it, man. I'm sure that there's some people that wouldn't care, but I don't think it'd be very many. I think it's few and far between. And maybe that's just the priests, man. Maybe the priests are the only ones that'd be like, I told you so.
I mean, I'll be honest again. Like, yeah, I would absolutely shit my pants, but I wouldn't be like totally freaked out. I would like give it a chance to be like, what do they want? And then if like again, like if something weird seemed like off, I'd be like, oh, I ain't dying today. Like, we'll see you. You guys can have whatever you want. Take my money. Here's my identity. Just leave me alone.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you would definitely I mean, I know I would. I would definitely have a moment of quiet where I would think, dude,
What am
have I
gonna
made
do
really
now?
good decisions, man? Like, have I made good, like, because in your mind you go, okay, so, you believe in these things, but it's there and you're like, oh, okay, it's 100 now. What am I doing?
Yep.
I think that would be something that I would definitely do. A lot of reflection. I don't know how you wouldn't do that, right? How could you not step back for at least a moment and go, damn, how have I been living my life?
See, that's what's weird though, too, is like, I think people have that moment of reflection in any like traumatic experience that they go through, essentially. So
Right,
like it doesn't have to be related to like angels and aliens and demons and stuff. It's just something traumatic, right? Which
right.
which in a sense that would be traumatic if aliens
I agree
came
with you.
down
Yeah.
walking the streets and shooting laser beams and stuff like that, and shadow hands grabbing people and pulling them under, or something else grabbing people and lifting them up in the sky. And yeah, that's still going to be traumatic regardless whether you're okay with it or not. It's going to be traumatic to you.
Yeah.
I think
And I know,
reflection sets in anything traumatic.
yeah, for sure. And I know we're kind of like attaching this to religion, like in the sense of how like Christianity or any of these other religions would actually view what an angel and demon is. And so you attach like sin and heaven and hell to it.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. I mean, like I said, this is just all kind of our perspective. I mean, I can't give you a lot. I don't what's the word? I don't do Islam. Like, I don't worship or practice Islam or any of that. So I can't give you that perspective. I can just give you kind of what I think.
Yeah, I can't give you any perspective, honestly. This is
Right.
just my own like readings and learnings, and that's basically it.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's be honest, dude. Like, this is just the way we look at it. Could you imagine like other religions having this kind of conversation? Like,
Like a
dude, you would,
true follower and practicer, like
right,
every
right.
day and going to mass every time. And oh
Dude,
yeah.
maybe we get a priest. Maybe we get Father Joe to come on here. The guy was at high school.
Ah.
He's Father Joe. He wrote a bunch of the episodes for The Simpsons. Really played Halo, everything. Very cool guy, dude.
Wow.
Maybe I'll hit him up. I never thought about that till right now.
That would be a very
That would be
cool.
crazy sick to have him come in here and talk about
guest.
how
Yeah.
how the Catholicism deals with that topic. Get his opinion. I guarantee he'd probably do the podcast, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That's really cool.
do you think like if you're a priest or something like that, do you think they think about like aliens and angels? Obviously angels and demons more, but aliens, do you think they think about aliens more than like the average person?
Well, I mean, Catholicism does. I mean, the Pope kind of said they'd be our space brothers. They've also been quoted. I think I see on their website, Catholic.com. It's like a big website for them. They say the central tenets of Christianity would remain intact with or without little green men, which I thought was funny how they said
Wow,
little green men.
they worded it like that.
Yeah, like that was almost kind of like a smart ass poke. Like,
Kind
yeah,
of,
these little
yeah.
green men, they're not real. They're not real, kind of a thing. You know, the religious side of it, I don't know if they think too much of it, but the human side of a priest, because obviously, you know, we're all human, we're all terrestrials here.
Yeah.
I think that you have to be interested if you've heard about it. However, it's very, very difficult to get someone like a priest, and I'm assuming a lot of priests are very, very mainstream. You know, they're not really digging into ufology, so they probably don't know a whole lot about the connections that we're making right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm assuming if they've ever heard about it, they've thought about. I mean, they've heard about aliens, but to go into a lot of depth, I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. Like think about it like this though too. Like to become like a priest and everything, right? Like your whole life leading up to that, that's all you did was study and dedicate your time. And so you know a lot about like that religion wherever the whatever the religion is for your priest, whether like let's say Catholicism and stuff like that, right? It's the same concept, right? You study, you remember, you research, you do all this, you become a priest, yada yada. After that, I mean, you have to have that like thought process and that mindset to like always want to like dig and learn and research, right?
Right.
So like I feel like they would want to like really research aliens and stuff like that because I mean, what else are they going to do other than keep practicing what they are now? But they still have like, essentially like let's call it like that itch, you know, that scratch for research and knowledge and whatever their interests are. And I do think that like aliens and like aliens, the aliens, angels and demons and religion and stuff all go hand in hand essentially, right? If you're somebody that's interested in aliens, you probably have a little bit backstory and have done some research with like religion. Like I know I
Possible,
have,
yeah, it's
whether I
possible.
practice any religion or not,
Yeah.
but I think there's always kind of like that hint, you know?
Yeah, I'm Catholic, but I don't ever go. I don't even go the 2 times a year you're supposed to go, and that 2 times a year like keeps you just in the good graces. I mean, I won't get into a lot of it, but I mean, I have my issues with the Catholic Church. I mean, I think a lot of people do. I don't think it's bad to go to church or be a part of anything
No,
like that. It's just
absolutely
that,
not.
yeah, there's just a lot of man-made
It's
rules
just
that I
not for
don't.
me. It's just
Yeah. There's just a lot of things that I don't think matter, dude. You know, like during Lent or whatever, you can't eat fish or can't eat meat. You have to eat fish. I don't think God gives a shit about that, dude. So I don't like. I can't sit around and practice that at that point. But yeah, I mean, since we're on that point, you know, I pulled a few Bible verses, and everybody probably knows these are from Ezekiel because they're from the story of Ezekiel's wheel. And I thought these kind of had relevance to the episode when we're talking about, you know, angels, demons. That's a very heavy Bible reference. So let's go into it. So Ezekiel 1:4, people are like, oh God, he's quoting the Bible. This is boring. It's crazy. No, trust me, these are really interesting. As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with brightness around it, and fire flashing forth continually, and in the midst of the fire, as it were gleaming metal.
okay. Before you say anything else, War of the Worlds. I'm telling you, we talked about it when we had Alien Addict on. And I
True.
said that's literally like what happened, right?
Yeah.
Stormy clouds and everything, lightning flashes, and then they come up and it's all hell breaks loose. There's your fire. Dude, there's a common pattern there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously gleaming metal sticks out. I mean, that's
Yep.
that's crazy, dude. The fire flashing forth. That could be lights
Yeah.
just coming off of it. I
Those
mean, we have
ships and stuff.
yeah, like how many how many stories we hear about UFOs would have lights all over them. The next one is, I'm not reading the whole story, guys. I'm just pulling out like a few of these really interesting lines from it, verses from it. 114 is, and the living creatures darted to and fro like the appearance of a flash of lightning, which is interesting because when we hear about the crafts moving, they're zipping around. You know, you see the lights and they zip around.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's pretty interesting.
Like the relevance is so like it's weird. It's like mind-boggling kind of like if you actually think about it.
If you read it, I here's the thing, French. A lot of people know about this. They hear, oh, the Ezekiel wheel story, wheels on fire, UFO. Not a lot of people have read it.
Well, and it's also their interpretation from like whatever source that they're getting it from, right? Because there's a million ways to interpret everything in the world, right?
Sure.
So
sure. But when you put these lenses on and you hear the words, you're like, whoa, that is pretty interesting.
Kind of trippy.
Yeah. Verse 15. Now, as I looked at the living creatures, I saw a wheel on the earth beside the living creatures, one for each of the four of them. So four things supposedly.
One wheel per four creatures.
Each for each of them. So four creatures, and they each had their own wheel or craft.
I was gonna say their craft, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you try to put yourself back in those days, I mean, how else would you describe a disc? You wouldn't say a flying saucer. You couldn't say a disc.
Would say a wheel.
Oh, some kind of wheel. Like that's because wheels back then, you got to remember, they don't look like tires. So there's not like a hole in the middle. A lot of those wheels, if I am correct, they were like thin. Stone, and they were just like, they were solid. And so if you took a wheel that was just a circle cut out, no holes in there, and just turned it over on the side, it's going to look like a wheel. It's going to look like a craft.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not Graham Hancock, but, you know, I think that's probably pretty damn close if you want to look at it that way. What do you think about that?
I don't know. Do you have any more to read? Because
I got a lot. Yeah.
I don't know. No, ask me here after like the rest.
We'll continue the story.
Yeah, because it's like, whoa.
This is verse 16. As for the appearance of the wheels and their construction, their appearance was like the gleaming of beryl, which beryl, I guess, is like a clear crystal kind of element.
That's what I was going to ask, because terms back then had a totally different meaning than they do now.
Yeah, and look, you can argue that the translation is not the same and not right. There's people that would destroy us over this, but I understand. But you know, we're laymen here. We're giving it to you best we can.
Right.
They can be different colors. They can be. I think yellow is a common color of beryl. I had to look it up for sure. And it says beryl. And so it says, and the four had the same likeness, their appearance and construction being as it were a wheel within a wheel. So now we're getting a little bit deeper here. Now we're saying like that there's actually depth to the craft.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's kind of like further like makes you think of like a spacecraft, right? Because now that it's almost like they're describing the inside of the craft.
Right.
Which honestly,
that's interesting.
If you think about a craft too, like it could be so crazy, obviously out of this world, right? I could see like the inside of like a craft being like, you know, barrel-esque, if that's not burlesque, barrel-esque, if that's a word or not, but in the sense of like the terminology of like, you know, crystalline and, you know, different colors and stuff, and also like flashing inside, right? And if there's lights and stuff, like everything looks super crazy. I could totally see the inside of a craft just being crystalled the hell out.
Yeah, that is interesting, man. I mean, because obviously we have so many stories that, you know, you look inside and it's almost an infinite space.
Right.
And, you know, Lazar said it's like all smooth inside. There's only a couple seats of the craft that he's supposedly seen. So, yeah, I mean, there could be. I mean, these could, you know, Ezekiel could be describing the crafts from the civilizations that have been around for billions of years.
Right. Back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not, the metal ones that Lazar supposedly had seen would be the ones from, millions of years of civilization. It's a little bit different. Kind of going back to what we were talking
Yeah,
about.
I like what you're saying there. Like their
Yeah, it's a progression.
advancement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever those are, whether aliens or what have you.
Isn't that crazy to think about, right? So as far as we know, we have like the Ice Age, the Stone
Yeah.
Age, like the Wood Age, Industrial Age, technological age, stuff like that. It's like almost like the same thing for them, but like
Yeah.
you said, billions. So their ages are like totally different, and when you compare them, if you wanted to, theirs are still more advanced than ours.
Right. Yeah, that's my whole point, is that it's like the progression and like what they're flying and what we're seeing is just dependent on how long that civilization was able to live and continue its trajectory upward.
Right.
So like if you so here we are at however many thousands of years you want to argue that we've been here. What do we have? We got the new F-150 truck. We got the Raptor F-22. Like these are our vehicles, right? Well, what if you were a civilization that was millions of years? What would you do then? Well, you'd probably be, flying like you'd be anti-gravity, right? You would figure out how to make a craft that could propel itself and not have those issues. Okay, so let's say you live to be 1 billion years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that progression look like? Well, you'd probably stop using materials. You wouldn't want to be in a shell. You wouldn't want to have to get into a craft or even send an AI bot in a craft somewhere, because you'd have to wait for it to come back and whatever you got to do with that.
That's interesting.
You would bail on that, and you would just say, how do I just put myself there? How do I just go there? Well, at that point, if you had billions of years to develop, you would probably understand the fabric of the universe so crazily well that you would understand how you could attach yourself to that fabric and just move yourself. Kind of like string theory, same idea. But yeah, just being able to get there. And that's why I say astral projection. If you describe that, or if you look at the definition of that, it's talking about taking your consciousness and spiritually moving it. No. It's taking your conscious and technologically moving it. And we just don't understand that. We don't get that's technology that's doing that. So when we see something in the sky that's like a flaming being or something even like Ezekiel is describing, we think that that's spiritual. It has to come from like religious, God, what have you, being, entity. But we don't understand that that's what a car or a plane looks like when you're billions of years advanced, bro. We can't understand it. The only thing we can say is magic. It's spiritual. It's woo, because we just don't understand. And that's what I'm starting to wonder. Are we just seeing, multiple different phases of civilizations that are coming around, that are interacting with us? So it's interesting, man. It blew my mind the other night when I was thinking about it. I was
well,
like,
because
oh my God.
you're like, flipping me like upside down right now, because
it flipped my head upside down.
What you're saying
that.
Also is like there's a theory that like we exist on this plane right now, but underneath the universe, everything, there's basically like, if let's call it the foundation, right? And it's a grid.
Right.
And so Tool, one of my favorite bands, and a lot of people know who Tool are, their song 46 and 2, that's based off of the theory that there's this grid underneath of us on this plane, and we're able to understand that grid and be able to move through the universe with that grid and reach like, a higher mindset of like, a 46 and 2, genome and stuff like that, which is very cool. And then also, it makes me think of Full Metal Alchemist. I can't exactly remember the quote, but they always state that like, I am one, and like the universe is like one. So I am the universe, something like that. It's close to it. I have to remember it, but it's almost like what you just said though, too, is like, if you can understand the fabric of the universe and you can travel, once you figure that out, then you are the universe, right? You can become one with it and go wherever you want.
Yeah, like instantaneous travel. Even if anti-gravity craft could go, really fast, multiple times the speed of light, you're still going to have distances that are hundreds and millions of years of speed of light. You would still have a time travel point. So the only way to progress would be to slow or shorten that loading screen, dude.
Yeah.
How do you shorten the loading screen? You just put yourself there. How do you do that?
No need for wormholes or black holes or anything, right?
Right. And so if you had a civilization that was a million years advanced and you gave them another billion years, they might be able to figure it out. They might be able to figure it out, man. It really changed my mind because I was thinking, is everybody just wrong? Are we all just wrong, dude? We're saying spirituality and
I mean, we probably are all just wrong anyway.
yeah,
Let's be
yeah.
honest.
But like, what is it? Like, if you took an iPhone and took it back into the 1500s, people would think that's you could project things and move on your phone. People would think there's something spiritual that I think they would, dude. I really think they would. And that's how many 500-600 years, dude. Imagine a billion years of progression.
I can't,
what
right?
in the hell would that look
we don't
like?
even know what the hell is going on now.
Yeah, I know. It's very possible.
My brain can't even comprehend that yet.
I know. I really think the universe is so old, dude, and we just have no idea. We have no idea, man. We have a couple more of these quotes. If we can
before you go
back
on,
on
you
these.
say the universe is old.
Yeah.
As far as we know, it's still young. It just
I
seems
know.
old to us because we don't understand it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It could be a
Dude,
newborn.
Right. I'm hard pressed to think that we're the best that's been running around this area.
Oh yeah.
So the last one of the Ezekiel's is, and under the expanse, their wings were stretched out straight, one toward another, and each creature had two wings covering its body. I thought that was kind of interesting. So I guess at this point we're talking about they're on the ground. Right. We're on the ground. You think about wings. Could they be describing not really like these feathery things that we think about? Maybe it's something attached to them for movement.
Well, that's just
when
weird.
they're actually when they actually
wings,
land. I don't know
anything feathery. That's just how.
Well, you see angels' wings, right?
Yeah, but that's not even what my mind went to.
What your mind go to?
I'm more so of like bat wings, almost like nothing feathery at all, like something like bat wings. Like, I guess if you want to say like more demonic side to it, right?
Right.
But like that's not necessarily the case, because wings could be like, like you're saying, like anything.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting one.
A craft with wings. They could be in their own little hovercrafts and.
Yeah, I just thought it made an interesting connection between if these are extraterrestrials and we're seeing wings, that's how they're aligning aliens and angels together. That's how they're kind of making that connection.
Isn't like I'm sorry, this is
you're good.
A little bit random, but so like archangels. Now those are specifically like different angels, right? Those are like the top tier angels. Are those? Is that like what Michael and Gabriel and all of them are and stuff like that? And like Lucifer.
Absolutely. Yep.
So everything that I've ever come across in my own research and stuff, like archangels have like this totally different depiction than other angels. So like other normal angels, they have like feathery wings and stuff like that. But like archangels are more of like I don't know how to describe it. Like
they're like more powerful versions, I guess, right? Like they have more power.
Yeah, but the way they're always like described as is like almost like lights, kind of like stringy waves of like lights, and like that's their wings, and like they're just it's weird.
Okay,
like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the way they're described, like their wings and stuff like that in general, like they're not like wings, they're like beams of light that are actually like still physical. And like dude, it's so weird. I don't know. Like everything that I've ever read about like that's an archangel, like the way it's depicted is like super different and weird than like other normal angels.
Yeah, and it's like the demon wings are always more like a bat wing kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like it's super
solid, earthly,
super on the nose, but like archangels like are not. So it's like are archangels like actually like the aliens?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who says that the demons, if they were, that they even have to be anything like astral like that? I mean, they could just be demons. Could just be a fallen civilization, a fallen race that fell out of what's the word for it? It fell out of just the rank and file of the beings
grace.
above. Fall of grace. There it is. I knew you'd get me, man. I knew you'd figure it out. I was giving you the time. I got a little worried for a second, but no, you caught me right there, just before I hit the ground. You know, and my nose kind of got scraped a little bit.
Slave.
But yeah. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's the situation. You know, maybe they're just more flesh and bone, I guess is a good way to put it, than we think that they are.
Yeah.
There's more of a connection to us that way. Maybe that's why we're so inclined to do bad things. I mean, I kind of tie it all together, what you were saying at the beginning of the episode. I mean, it's like, yeah, it is sometimes feels easier to sin. You know, it feels easier to cheat on your diet, you know, sometimes than it is to eat the right thing. And you always wonder yourself, why are all the good foods taste so bad most of the time, and all the bad stuff tastes so good? You know, maybe it's just our connection to what's bad, or however you want to describe that, to what's bad for you in your life. But it's just why we gravitate towards it, because we're still more close to those people that are there, if there's people. Which is kind of, I brings up our last quote here from Revelation 13:1. And I saw a beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. Which kind of goes back to what we were saying. Oh, I can't remember, dude, off the top of my head.
I want to look it up right now. Honestly,
yeah, you can
continue talking.
Yeah.
How do you spell diadems?
DIADEMS. And if we get it wrong, guys, put it in the comments. You know, put it in the chat.
Oh,
even though this is recorded,
we're still going to headband worn as a symbol of sovereignty. Number one, that's a sick ass definition. I like that a lot.
Why is there not a band out there named Diadems? That's actually a really good band name. Low key, it is.
Sovereigns of the Wicked. That'd be cool.
But I guess to kind of come full circle, we were talking about before too. A beast rising out of the sea. You know, when I read that, I thought, yeah, it makes sense. What if Satan was and Lucifer was kicked down? He went down into the ocean, and this is kind of what's being described: him coming out of the water. That's the Pentagon thinks. Full circle,
boy. Wouldn't you shit your pants? You seen that? That's like what we were talking about earlier, like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm for sure.
Yeah, tell me with a straight face you would see that, and then you turn around and grab a breakfast bagel, dude. Yeah, dude, right. No, okay. Sure.
I wouldn't even call to ask if I was going to work. I'd be like, see ya.
You'd just be hoping that you made it.
Right.
Another day. Imagine that first night. And that's what's going on, and it's somewhere out in the ocean on the West Coast, and you're sitting here in Michigan. You're thinking, how long does it take for him to get here?
I'm eating my solid Dove chocolate bunny in bed, hitting my vape, just waiting.
Yeah. No, look, man. I mean, the whole topic is really crazy, and I do think here in 2024, because we're kind of opening up. This is the first episode.
What a wild one too.
I know, and
it's a fun one.
I know. I said, fine, we got to do this one. I think we're going to hear more about this. I don't think this will go away soon. Like, I don't think it'll be a fad. Especially if there's some reason the government wants us to think this. They have a way to kind of keep this thing going. But if aliens are angels and demons, French, I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, we've been a little over an hour. Let's kind of wrap this thing up here. Where do we go from here at this point, if that ends up being the case?
So before I answer your question, remember how we had Alien Addict on, and I think it was your last question, like, what do you think is going to be in the next year? And I said religion.
Yeah.
And that's what you literally just said now. You're like, I think we're going to hear a lot about this. I'm like, yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, you just have that feeling, because it's a crazy concept once you start to link it together, like we've just been talking about.
Yeah, it is, man. But it just seems to be so viable as an option for a part of the phenomenon at this point.
I think
there's so much of that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I wonder to see how much other channels start to maybe dig into other religions and start actually trying to put those pieces together. I mean, Tom DeLonge said that in 2016. He said, don't grab just the Bible. He said, grab every religious text.
Yeah.
Read all of it,
honestly,
and then put together a hypothesis of what you think. And I mean, I've said this a million times. There's things that I don't like about with Tom in this topic. And I think TTSA was, a sham for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean like everything that he said was bad.
No, that's good advice right there, And,
right.
And it's true, because if you actually do follow that advice, And even if it's just like a brief moment of like research for like all these different religions, there's still a lot of similarities between all of them, which is kind of weird, right? Because religion is so they're so specifically meant to be like different, right? Different teachings, different practices, different practices. But when you follow those teachings and practices, and if you look at a little bit of all of them, they all have similarities. So which means they all had to come from like somewhere. There's a reason they have similarities.
I know.
That's what's crazy. And like that's like the link that I've just like recently come to within the last
Right.
like couple of years. But
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stark differences in philosophy in all of them for sure.
yeah.
But it's all kind of the same idea. You know, they all have a sense of moral code that they want to follow, and there's
Mhm.
a supreme being. Whether I mean, there are some religions that are they have multiple gods. I can't remember. I know there's monotheist. I'm gonna
Mhm.
screw the word up. I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, I know.
You know, religions with one god and religions with many gods and things like
Hinduism
that.
and stuff like that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. But a lot of it seems to be a roadmap, right, of how to treat people, how to live your life, and
Yeah, I think so. I think it's I mean, if you want to look at it this way, I think it's a preparation course too if you choose to take it, right? Cuz what your question was, so what if this is comes out and aliens are angels and demons, right?
right.
Um at that point, I would say if you are religious and that becomes the case, like I think practicing religion is like a prep course to prepare you for that truth when it comes out. I think you'll finally have your absolute meaning and purpose in life to an extent. It might not be exactly as whatever the writings are and teachings that you've been taught and everything, whatever your religion may be. But I think it's a good foundation and basis for, preparation for if something like that did come out. And if it did come out, um, I wanna say, like, I feel like the world would be split. I feel like it would be split between people that are religious and people that aren't, because I think people that are religious and the truth came out that aliens are angels and demons, I think they would wanna, like, butt heads about it, and I think some people would have more of a level head than others, and I think that would also cause a bunch of problems.
We would
I
need them
think
to
there's
come in. We
still
would need them to step in and say which one was right, and dude, that would be
Yeah, that would
chaos.
absolutely, yeah. I think so, yeah.
Absolute chaos. Or do you think people would just go ahead and bow down to it? I don't think so. I think it would be chaos. There may be
It'd be
some people that would
chaos.
be willing to put down their religion and change. I mean, people put down religion all the time, man. People that grow up in that way. People escape religious cults. I mean,
I think it'd be chaos, man. I mean, look what
yeah.
happens just for like let's say restaurants or companies that discontinue like your favorite food, right?
Oh my God, it's true. Yeah, it's
Right.
true.
I mean, you just dude, you go ape shit. You're so mad and
So
upset.
mad.
It's almost like the same thing. It's like, oh, okay, and then it's like everything changes. It's like, oh, hey, aliens are angels and demons. They're coming to do all this shit, and it's like my daily life is absolutely screwed up and flipped upside down. And everything, like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the reason for people to lose their shit.
for sure. And I'll tell you what, I want to know if their religions are the same. Maybe they have a different Hinduism on their planet. Maybe they have a different
If we
Islam.
can
Maybe they're
ask
different
questions,
Christianity.
yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Hopefully,
Is that
yeah.
would
Hopefully
that
they're
be your
cool
main
enough.
question?
Well, I don't like. I know we did an episode about that way back, but I mean, it'd be one of the early ones. Yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
think there'd be like two main questions, like who's right?
who's God?
Yeah,
Who's God? And what happens to us when we die?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think so, man.
I think deep down that's everybody's question, honestly.
Yeah.
Whether you
So
think
tell us.
about it or not, eventually you're going to.
Right. So tell us what you guys think, man, in the comments. Angels, demons, aliens, are these things all connected? Did we talk for over an hour about nonsense? Was this a waste of time? Let us know what you think. And obviously, thank you for watching 100%. Please also make sure to like, share, subscribe. Those things all help the algorithm. And I had fun with this being pre-recorded, man. Right?
Yeah, 100%. And it still feels live to me. So
Yeah, it really
literally
does.
nothing feels different, honestly, right now, which is crazy.
Except I'm going to move it over to the Mac. I'm going to cut it off.
Right. Do a little bit of
right.
editing, huh?
Perfect. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day, night, whenever it is that you're watching this. Thank you for watching Terrestrial Material, and we'll see you next time.